I'm Jennifer Goodman with Good Life Realty, and I'm here with Peter Pfeiffer of Barley Pfeiffer Architects. Peter, let's talk a little bit about your 2016 Modern Homes Tour House. It's exciting this year.
It's exciting, and I think one of the things I'm excited about with this one is it shows that we can take our high performance orientation and modern orientation and contemporary orientation and make it available to those who normally wouldn't be able to afford it.
Yeah.
You might say it's sort of like what some of the famous clothing designers have done with actually doing a line of clothes that would be sold in Target. I'm not trying to say that we're just high-end architects, but we are known for our higher-end homes. And now we're doing homes that are selling for $300,000 and $400,000 that are very modern, but also very climately oriented.
What was the inspiration for this house?
It's a transition. The original homes in this neighborhood called the Gave were uber modern, 1990s, early 2000s versions of that with the flat roofs and the expanses of glass. The homes before those were very traditional. This new developer asked us to come up with a transitional design that responded well to both. Contemporary, crisp looking, but with more reference to the Texas climate and the forms that you would expect if you were trying to do something that responds to the Texas climate.
Is there anything that makes this house unique?
It's neat. It's good looking, but it will last. It's got roof forms and windows and stuff that are protected, so it will last. It'll be less expensive to own and operate and more comfortable than the typical modern home that we see. And when I say typical modern home, please excuse my cynicism, but flat roofs eventually leak. Walls of glass eventually are uncomfortable and cause a lot of maintenance. We try to give you something that looks good without defying nature.
Do you have a favorite room in this house?
I think the front porch of this house is going to be pretty neat. It faces to the prevailing breezes. It's covered enough that you can actually have chairs out there and enjoy it. Now, I know that's not inside the house, but I just walked the house on Saturday with my daughter, and that's what I came back thinking.
Well, you know what? That goes back to some of the lifestyle things we talked about from your childhood, which is hanging out on that porch and creating life out there, outside of the four walls, if you will.
I'm always trying to encourage my kids to be outside and don't be holed up in front of the computer screen. I bet you there's 1,000 parents out there listening who could relate to that statement.
I'm sure there are, especially in today's day and age. Are there any eco-friendly or efficiencies that you built into this house?
Well, we were very careful. We tried to get the developer to be careful about which of our designs he selected for which lot given the orientation. So we don't have walls of glass facing into the afternoon sun. And if you know about our climate and designing for our climate, that's probably one of the most important things you can do if you care about a higher performing home that's very comfortable and energy efficient. Don't have excessive amounts of solar glare and heat. Other than that, there are some technological things. It's got a special roof that we invented that has got a radiant barrier involved with it that keeps the attic from getting hot, keeps the house more comfortable. I think by and large, it's a simple but effective design to not only build but to own. And that's what we're trying to show off here, that you can do crispy looking homes that are easier to own and maintain and more comfortable.
Well, let's dig a little deeper on that, because there are so many things, especially with this climate, and we've been talking about it. Let's talk about, for the houses that you built, is there anything for this house that you really considered in terms of how you situated it with the land, elevation strategies, anything that you want to sort of throw out there?
Well, as I alluded to before, we did a number of designs for this developer. He's a gentleman from Houston who is one of the largest infill developers in the United States. And we convinced him that one design doesn't work for every different setting. That we did about 6 or 7 designs, and some of them are more appropriate for lots where the front faces west, some are more appropriate for lots where the front faces south, and this is one of the ones where the front faces south. And so we chose a design that responded well to that. It shades the windows, but lets lots of light in, but it's reflected light, so you don't get excessive glare. And you can open the windows and actually get some good ventilation through the house. It was designed to cross ventilate. The house was essentially designed to be comfortable without air conditioning for many months of the year. And without having to go, it's not based on the technology of the air conditioner, it's based on the way the house was laid out to let air flow through it.
So smart, and especially with the prices of heating and cooling these days, especially cooling in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
When you planned the exterior spaces, how did that affect the interior spaces?
Well, I talked about the front porch being right off the front living area, which was also very visible from the kitchen. So
Sure.
you could even be in the kitchen and seeing what's going on in your front yard. That's important, to be connected with your neighborhood when you're in your kitchen, as well as the other public areas of the house. Certainly some areas of the house, we wanted privacy. The master suite is not out on the street. The master suite is away from the street, so you don't have to hear traffic. That's important, but it's overlooked an awful lot. I see many a nice home with a master bedroom that's right there in the street. And then it's also the materials. We designed the exterior of this home to shed water.
Tell me about that.
Well, if a house is made out of a water-absorbing material like stone or stucco or some bricks, they become like a wet sponge after a summer rainstorm, and that humidity doesn't dry to the outside, it wants to go to the inside where it's cooler and drier. So we actually really work hard in doing our homes where health and indoor air quality is important to shed water and not be a soaking wet after a rainstorm.
So can we talk a little bit about what you did then to create that for
It's
this
just
home?
a choice of pre-primed hardy siding and metal siding. It wasn't very sophisticated, but it's recognizing and broad overhangs to keep the water off the walls. That's a big one. You know, if your house doesn't get wet, it'll last so much longer and be so much more comfortable.
Great. Is there anything about this house you want to tell us that we haven't talked about?
I think I'll just reiterate, it's the idea of trying to bring this type of design and thinking to be available to those who don't have $1 million to spend, or even $750,000 or $500,000. I'm proud of that.
Well, thanks for doing it.
All right.
All right. Well, I'm Jennifer Goodman with Good Life Realty. I've been here with Peter Pfeiffer of Barley Pfeiffer Architects, and thanks for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you at the Modern Homes Tour.